Welcome to Off Screen. Let's get cinematic. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is your 7-day guide to everything movies. Boom.
It's always fun to be back on the couch with you. Well, the metaphorical couch, of course, Bex, because obviously in respect of certain pandemic procedures, we do record this by remote. But of course, just because the pandemics have shut the cinemas down does not mean there are not movies, as we are well versed. So we've got movies on digital, we've got movies on Freeview, we've got movies on DVD, movies on streaming. There's movies all round, really, isn't there?
There is, and even to add to that, tonight I'm going back to my second drive-in movie. I'm going to go and watch The Goonies, my favourite movie of all time.
I know you've been really looking forward to that. Was it Jurassic Park that I believe you saw? Was that last week?
Yeah, that was last week. It did rain. I had to watch it through windscreen wipers. Today, I'm hoping for maybe some cloud, but it's okay. Maybe I can put the roof down on my convertible. That would be nice.
Well, that's funny you say that, because obviously I drive a convertible and I wanted to go to the Secret Cinema drive-in, but one of their terms and conditions was that convertibles couldn't have their roofs down, begging the question, why in the middle of the summer would you impose that limitation on an outdoor film event? It just seems ludicrous, doesn't it?
It does. That's why I only watch it at the Luna Cinema, which is not only easy to drive to, really cheap, but also they have no restrictions on convertibles, so I can't wait.
And who are in no way paying us any advertising rates for this. We should stress that up front. Okay, so let's talk then about our first on digital release for the week. And oh my God, are we starting strong, Becks?
Oh, good.
Boy, are we starting strong. So this is Clemency. Now, you might have heard of this because this has been around a fair while. So this made its debut at Sundance in January 2019. It premiered in US cinemas in December 2019, round about the point that the Oscar screeners went out for the year, which included this film. And it's now getting its UK release, finally. Funnily enough, in the middle of a pandemic, well, towards the tail end of a pandemic lockdown, if the news is to be believed. And this stars Alfred Woodard. It stars Aldous Hodge, you might remember as the best friend / cop from The Invisible Man. And it is the story of Bernadine Williams. She is a prison warden, and she's very tired of having to emotionally, psychologically live through the execution of all of her inmates. This takes a toll when one of the executions goes wrong. It starts an unraveling within her, particularly as they near the execution of another inmate, Anthony Woods, who's played by Aldous Hodge, who is sort of a renowned inmate. He's known for the execution of a police officer, and he maintains his innocence. She has something of a difficult relationship with him. She's very by the book. A lot of his lawyers and a lot of the staff are very much on his side, very supportive of him, and this creates something of a divide there. This is also taking a strain on her marriage to a school teacher played by Wendell Pierce, which makes me very, very happy. And of course, his lawyer is played by Richard Schiff, who maintains his client's innocence and is trying only to come up with the best possible defense for his client.
For the past 7 years, you've blocked every single attempt I've made to try to get him to be treated like a human being. You're gonna kill him. Isn't that enough?
I have treated him like a human being every step of the way. Is that my job to bypass the rules to accommodate your special request?
Special request? How is it a special request? Open the gates, please. I'd like to leave now.
I have to maintain order and safety in this prison. I got over 1,000 bodies that I have to ensure are safe and accounted for. It's hard enough without you complicating things.
What you have to do is protect yourself now that this place is under fire since you botched the last execution.
You know what? You mentioned that this went out with all the Oscar screeners, and I'm wondering how it kind of fell by the wayside on this.
I absolutely could not tell you. Now, there is a very cynical correlation I could draw, and if I just say the word Selma, you can probably take an educated guess at to what I am referring.
I thought you might go down that route, which is why I wanted to ask the question. Is it along those lines? Are we seeing another filmatic injustice?
Well, this is the interesting thing. First of all, this is written and directed by Chinonye Chukwu, who took home the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance for Best US Drama for this. Now, she was the first African-American woman, the first black woman to do that. So there is something of an impressive pedigree at work with this. Alfred Woodard, who, remains impressive, remains strangely ageless as well, because I'm trying to figure out how old she must be, because I've been watching her since Scrooged in 1988, when she played Grace, and Star Trek First Contact was was 1996. And you said, like, I've been watching this woman for what feels like most of my life, and she doesn't seem to have aged a day. She's always been terrific. She is absolutely spellbinding here. It is a powerful performance. It is volatile. It is vulnerable. It is a powder keg of emotional and psychological pressure. But having said that, I think there's an amazing supporting cast as well, all of whom back Alfred Woodard and also back the equally impressive Aldous Hodge, who I think is really emerging into something of a great character actor himself after things like The Invisible Man, after things like Hidden Figures, after Straight Out, even a small supporting role, Straight Out Compton. Supporting cast including Richard Schiff, LaMonica Garrett, Wendell Pierce. It is a genuinely tremendous film. I think this would have been a seriously strong contender for Best Actress had the Academy considered it, which I cannot fathom as to why they didn't, although I could take a very cynical guess.
Well, there we go. A strong recommendation from Van on that one. How many thumbs did you give it?
Two very strong, hearty thumbs on that one.
There we go. We had a little bit of a down week last week on those on digital releases, and it's great to see we're back up to strong, stellar movie making once again. So that's Clemency. That's on digital from Friday, 17th of July, and that is obviously today. So make sure you guys check that out. And next up, we've also got Come As You Are, another one that I know before we came on air, Van, you were saying is really good.
It is really good. I'm just going to say straight off the bat, the title of this does not refer to the Nirvana song. This is in no way a Kurt Cobain biopic. This is, however, a remake of a 2011 Belgian dramedy called Hasta La Vista, which was then retitled Come As You Are. So, the remake has then gone with that title. This, like The Upside, is then the second dramedy to deal with the physically disabled in 2 years that also serves as a foreign language remake. So this, and let's not talk too much about the title for Ofcom reasons, because the story involves three, in different way, disabled 20-something American men who go on a road trip to a brothel in Montreal that specializes in servicing people with very specific physical needs.
Yeah, it's my parents.
Take mine out, will you?
What happened?
Where is it?
It's in the pouch.
Dude, it's your mom too.
Toss it.
What?
Seriously, toss it out the window. They can track us. It's the cost of freedom. Do it. Mo, you too.
Did he just throw his phone out?
Mo,
Yeah.
Throw my phone
Mo,
out.
throw
Mo,
it.
throw
I'm
your
not
phone
throwing
out.
my-
My mom
No,
knows
man.
you. She knows your
It's a
mom.
brand
Toss
new
it. They can
phone,
track
man.
us now.
Fine.
Do it.
What was that? It's my SIM card. I threw out my SIM card.
Fuck, that's a better idea.
So stupid.
I quite like that. I think, yeah, so much of a better idea to throw out your SIM card. It is. It makes so much more sense. It's not a cheaper option. This sounds like a good fun.
This is really, really good fun. I cannot understand how this didn't have more hype around it. Now, on the one hand, it's quite a broad, kind of a crass slapstick sex comedy. Sort of a bro comedy. It's got something of a Silicon Valley kind of a tone to it, if you've seen HBO Silicon Valley. But it's been made with proper indie stylings, directed by Richard Wong. This adaptation written for the screen by, I think it's Eric Linthorst, who sadly can't take credit for the title, because that would have been a real feather in his cap. To be honest, if you're going to deny a potential future Nirvana biopic the use of this title, I'm glad it's in the favour of a movie with this concept, a concept which is awfully close to a tale that Jim Jeffries tells a lot about one of his friends. The central trio are really likeable. Grant Rosenmeyer, who you can hear most prominently in that clip, is the obvious, most immediate scene stealer. Gabori Sidibe, who you might remember from Precious.
Yes. Oh my God, she's brilliant.
She is really good. She's sort of their handler. She's their driver for this trip in a sort of handy-capable van.
How has she not been? Gabriel Sidibe was like the hottest person out there when that movie came out. How has she kind of slipped off the radar? She's so unique and brilliant, and she's a fantastic actress. I can't believe we haven't seen her till now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and to be fair, this is a good vehicle for her. She starts out playing kind of the straight man, albeit sort of repurposed as sort of, sarcastic, slightly dumbfounded, sassy woman. She goes on to become almost the heart and soul of the whole thing. I thought she was genuinely brilliant in this. It goes really playful with its underdog credibilities, but it does have a lot of heart behind it. I was really, really won over by it. There's also a sort of blockers element with the parents sort of chasing them and trying to stop them. They're played here by Janine Garofalo, who's one of the mums, and C.S. Lee from Dexter. Vince Masuka from Dexter is one of the dads. Really, really great movie. Can't recommend highly enough.
Sold. I'm absolutely sold. This is going to be on my list for this weekend. So there we go. I'm assuming you're giving another 2 thumbs up for this.
2 rousing thumbs from me, absolutely.
Fantastic. So you've got 2 great choices here on your on-digital offerings from today. So you've got Clemency and Come As You Are. Depending which way you want to go, you might want to go really serious or really funny. It's completely up to you. But coming up next, we've got some movies on TV. And we're back, and this time we are keeping you on your couch, but with the movies that you can catch on your telly box. So we've got an amazing selection to cover you from Saturday through till the next Friday. You're never going to be bored because we're going to have an incredible selection of all of the top movies that you can watch for free. And we're going to kick off with what I have to say is one of my favourite films of the last few years. It did so well at the Oscars when it came out. It was an Oscar-winning performance from Frances McDormand. It's got the longest title ever. It's 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's on Channel 4, 9:15 p.m. I mean, Van, you and I both love this movie, don't we?
Was this our first Oscar night together when this won? Because we've done, I think, 3 Oscar nights together, and I think this was the very first or the second one of them.
It feels like 2017 would be quite a long time ago for this movie, but maybe it was a year after.
I think it's an amazing movie, this. This was Martin McDonagh, who had brought us, prior to this, had brought us In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths, both of which I think is really good. He has a brother, his brother is also a director. I'm not sure, one of them did The Guard, the Irish one with...
I love The Guard, yeah.
Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle. This, I think, is a world unto itself. This is a lot darker than even In Bruges got. In Bruges was particularly grim. So this is Frances McDormand as the mother, infuriated by the lack of progress in the police investigation of her murdered and raped daughter, who hires 3 billboards just outside Ebbing, Missouri, hence the clever title, to basically goad the police, who are led by a sheriff played by Woody Harrelson and his racist deputy Sam Rockwell. And this just kickstarts a chain of events that all spiral very quickly out of control.
Hey there, Mildred. You didn't happen to pay a visit to the dentist today, did you?
No.
Huh?
I said no.
Oh, so it wasn't you who drilled a little hole in one of Big Fat Jeffrey's big fat thumbnails, no?
Of course not.
Huh?
I said, of course not. You drilled a hole in the dentist? Denise, no, I didn't.
I thought it was kind of funny myself, but he wants to press charges, so we're going to have to bring you in, I'm afraid.
You might be wondering, Frances McDormand doesn't sound like an Oscar-winning actress in that particular clip. That is because, actually, spoiler alert, she had been to the dentist. And spoiler alert, yeah, that hole in the dentist's thumb probably was caused by her. So it's if you don't like expletives in a movie, then you don't want to watch Frances McDormand's performance, because she is dropping the F-bomb left, right, and centre in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's so brilliantly done. Woody Harrelson is so compassionate in here, and Sam Rockwell is so dislikable in this movie as well. There's everything, and it all happens in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, and it's an explosive performance from every single person in this, and especially Frances McDormand, and it's an explosive movie in itself.
I mean, it's literally explosive at one point. There are literal explosions at one point in this, in a moment of actual, physical catharsis, of literal explosive catharsis, as well as, for the character arc. Supporting cast in there as well. John Hawkes, Samara Weaving in a small but actually quite impressive role. Peter Dinklage as well. Caleb Landry Jones. Just a terrific cast all round. Even who's the actress I can't stand from Limitless? And Abby Cornish. Abby Cornish from Limitless and things like that. She actually turns out to be pretty decent in this as well, even though I still can't understand why they just randomly cast an Australian actress to play a sheriff's wife in the middle of Missouri. But other than that, genuinely brilliant film. I'm a big fan of McDonagh anyway, and this, I think, is probably his strongest work yet. And I say that as someone who thinks In Bruges is one of the best comedies ever made.
Well, there we go. So that is your Saturday night sorted. That's on Channel 4, 9:15 p.m. Set your record button. Do not miss it. Enjoy it on your Saturday night. It is one of the best of the last few years. Now, moving on to something that's a little bit earlier in terms of its timing in which the film came out, but it's also a little bit earlier on your screens as well. On Sunday night, we got The Losers on ITV4 at 8 p.m, haven't we, Van?
So this is the 2009-2010 comic book adaptation by Sylvain White. This stars Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Chris Evans, Idris Elba, Jason Patrick, Zoe Saldana. This is basically the thing about this movie is this came out at the same time as the film adaptation of The A-Team, and they both have the exact same plot. They are a team of elite mercenaries for hire who get double crossed and have to use their skill set to clear their name. In this case, they are led by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It is all about the wacky comic book personalities in there. There's more members of the team as well, played by more unknown actors. It's all about Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It's all about Zoe Saldana. Idris Elba gets something of an interesting arc, as sort of a taciturn turncoat member of the team. But of course, the scene stealer is a sort of pre-Captain America Chris Evans as the team's hacker and resident, let's just say, woman-obsessed wise-ass, as you'll hear when they try to commandeer a military helicopter.
Base 1, this is Cavalier 415. We've been in a collision with a civilian vehicle. We need medevac immediately.
Roger, Cavalier 415.
Robert De Niro, who?
We're scrambling a chopper.
Jensen, shut up. You shut up, Roke. You're dead. I'm spinal injury. Spinal injury can talk.
Base 1, this is Medevac Delta. We have visual on Cavalier 415.
Here we go.
All right, buddy. We're gonna get you patched up in no time.
Oh my God. Hi. What's your name?
So the interesting thing about this is this came out just before Glee did, and Glee, when that came out, I don't remember, monopolised the song Don't Stop Believing with its first episode. This movie features an absolutely brilliant sequence involving Chris Evans, a sniper, and that song that has to be seen to be believed.
When you talk about Chris Evans pre-Captain America, I mean, he's one of those people, I think, stepping away from the Marvel franchise is going to have a really bright career because he's turned his hand to some really clever parts, this being one of them, but also Knives Out as well. You see him in a completely different light. So he's a really great actor. If you see Chris Evans in a movie, he's made a clever choice and he's doing a brilliant role. So he hasn't let us down yet. And I think this is just only going to be better. So listen, watch it. It's on ITV4, 8 p.m. The Losers. If you don't like the A-Team, I don't think a lot of us liked the A-Team when that came out. A good alternative for you. So that's a good one. Moving on to Monday, we've got one of the best movies here. We have Face Off, Sony Movies, 9 p.m. Travolta, Cage, Two Faces, maybe 4. And it's just brilliant.
So this was the third American feature from director John Woo, the third American directorial feature from John Woo, who had made his American debut with Hard Target, followed that up with Broken Arrow, starring John Travolta and Christian Slater, and then reunited with Travolta to film this, opposite Nicolas Cage. This script had been around for a long time. It had originally started life as an out-and-out sci-fi action film. There have been attempts to star Stallone and Schwarzenegger. There have been attempts to star Van Damme and Seagal. There have been attempts to star Michael Douglas and Clint Eastwood, I think, at one point. And then Michael Douglas stayed on as producer when they finally got to this. You can still see Michael Douglas's name over the brilliant opening credits in which Nicolas Cage plays the world's most psychotic priest. However, he's not a priest. He is the international terrorist Castor Troy, who is taken down by his arch nemesis, FBI agent Sean Archer, just as he's placed a bomb in downtown LA. In order to find the bomb, Sean Archer utilizes a unique, revolutionary, one-of-a-kind surgical procedure to lift the face off of Castor Troy, place it atop his own, and go undercover to find the location of the bomb. However, Castor then wakes up, utilizes his goons to basically take Sean's face, put it over his own, and now the cop is the criminal is the cop, and of course, they're gonna face off.
I don't know what I hate wearing worse. Your face or your body. I mean, I enjoy boning your wife, but well, let's face it, we both like it better the other way, yes? So why don't we just trade back?
You can't give back what you've taken from me.
Oh, well. Plan B. Let's just kill each other.
Oh, do you know what? Either one of these two actors could have so played a maniacal villain, and I loved how this played out. I love seeing Travolta in this role. He's spine-tinglingly scary as a villain. And you know what? I also think that you need a real visionary director to pull this off in such a great way, and John Woo has done that incredibly
With Doves.
well. Yeah, exactly. So, there's great kind of performances, and also it's just a film that you can watch again and again on this. So that is Face Off. That's on Sony Movies, 9 p.m. We're going to come back very shortly with even more movies on TV to see your week through.
And now it's time for a segment we like to call Off Screen Pays the Bills. So this week we'd like to thank our sponsors, The Pop Culture Show. It's a great show to check out, The Pop Culture Show with Barnes, Leslie and Cubby. Much like we cover movies, these guys cover it all. They cover the latest pop culture news like TV, movies, gadgets, celebrity news, the works. And of your hosts, you've got Barnes, who's a pop culture junkie and an actor. You've seen in things like Irresistible. I know him from Prison Break back in the day. There's Leslie, who's a power executive, cable TV network. She is properly on it with all the Hollywood gossip, all the actors, musicians, personalities, all of that. And then you got Cubby, who's a morning show personality on one of the top radio stations in New York. He knows everything, and he properly pulls in some good guests. They've known each other for a while. You kind of shows in the dynamic of it. I actually listen to the show myself now, and it's a good listen. It's right up my alley. It's kind of got everything I like in a podcast. It's a pretty solid selection of pop culture goss from all over the show. Bit of variety, some good banter. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That's the Pop Culture Show with Barnes, Leslie, and Cubby. Check them out. Welcome back to Off Screen, and we're going to keep you on that couch for more movies on Freeview. So, over to Tuesday then, Miss Perfect. What should we watch next?
Oh, do you know what? This is one of my favourite sort of British stories that I've seen in quite a while. Eddie the Eagle is on Film 4, 6:55 p.m. Performances from Taron Egerton, and also he plays Eddie, and then also Hugh Jackman as well, who plays his coach in this. This is a real story of Eddie the Eagle. I think his surname's Edwards, Eddie Edwards.
Eddie Edwards, yeah.
Eddie Edwards, who is like the most unusual hopeful for the Olympics or ski jump, and it's his story of how he kind of became this iconic Olympian. It's quite incredible. And do you know what? I think Taron Egerton, again, another clever person, clever actor who just picks brilliant roles to really showcase what he can do. It's a really, really fun watch.
Mum, where's my purple rucksack?
Under the stairs.
Thank you.
Why, are you going camping?
No. Going to Germany. Coach leaving very soon. Sorry, Dad, I've got to get on them slopes.
Oh, no, not this again, no.
Excuse me.
Hang on. What am I going to tell your plastering teacher?
Tell him I've made new plans.
New plans?
What plans?
I'm going to be an Olympic ski jumper.
Oh, no. This is some kind of joke, right?
Dad, it's not like I'm taking up ballet. It's still skiing. It's just a bit higher.
You name me one British ski jumper.
Me. Eddie Edwards.
There we go. And do you know what? I think an underdog story is always so brilliant to watch. It's got that real British humour behind it as well. And the relationship between Eddie the Eagle and also his coach, played by Hugh Jackman, is lovely to see out as well. And also it just kind of covers loads of things, like people didn't believe in him, he was a little bit bullied, he kind of triumphs over that. And yeah, he becomes the one ski jumper we all remember.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because I haven't seen this since it came out. I know you're a huge fan of it, so I was so happy to be able to pick this, because obviously it's been on TV a bunch, but it always clashes with something else. I thought, yes, I finally get to give Becks this. I feel like, because you said about the British sense of humour, this is directed by Dexter Fletcher and obviously stars Taron Egerton, and you feel like this is almost the training ground for what would become Rocket Man, in a sense, as well. So there's a sort of an evolutionary lineage going on there as well.
I'll tell you what, Dexter Fletcher's come a long way since Press Gang in the early 90s. He is, like, I loved it when he directed Wild Bill. He just did a fantastic job there. He obviously took on...
Debut, wasn't it?
It was his debut. He's done films like this. He took on the directing role after Bryan Singer left Bohemian Rhapsody and cleaned a load of stuff up. Rocket Man as well. We're looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing next. But if you want to kind of see his great work, then Eddie the Eagle is one of my favourite movies out there. It's a good feel-good movie. It's on Film 4, 6:55 p.m. on Tuesday. Definitely worth a watch.
On Wednesday, then, something that's less feel-good, more kick-ass. This is Nicolas Cage in a Jerry Bruckheimer film, which is always a good thing in my books. 2000 effort, directed by Dominic Senna. And this stars, and I reeled off the cast for you before we started recording, because I'm very proud of the fact that I can remember most of this. This co-stars Angelina Jolie, Robert Duvall, Christopher Eccleston, Delroy Lindo, Chi McBride, Vinnie Jones, Giovanni Ribisi, Scott Caan. I feel like, did I say Timothy Olyphant? I think he's in there as well. So I've got this to...
I wanted you to say McG, but it wasn't McG. It was someone else.
So this is a very loose reworking of a film from the 50s, from 1954, I think. It is Gone in 60 Seconds. Basically, the plot is, in order to save his brother's life at the hands of a murderous gangster, played by a pre-Doctor Who Christopher Eccleston, basically a reformed car thief, Randall Raines, a.k.a. Memphis Raines, has to steal 50 cars in one night.
I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the cars. Gleaming in Marina blue, Sunfire yellow, Marlboro red, begging to be plucked. And I'd do it. I'd boost her and just blast to Palm Springs, instantly feeling better about being me.
Now, speaking of movies that you haven't seen since it came out, this is one of those ones for me. I mean, this is like a real blast from the past, but I remember it being the coolest thing ever when it came out, and I was far too young to watch it as well.
This, I think, was the first blockbuster role, I think, really for Angelina Jolie, because she just won the Oscar, I think, earlier that year for Girl Interrupted. This came out that summer and was a huge deal, and I think a year later we had Tomb Raider, and I think people remember her winning the Oscar and then being Tomb Raider. They seem to forget that this happened in between, which is strange, because I know so many women who had their first girl crush on Angelina in this movie, because she's such an icon in it.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful, brilliantly acted. Nick Cage as well. You just heard from that clip his voice. It's like it sends you off to another time. It feels like it should be mid-90s. You know, it's our favourite kind of genre.
Yeah.
That's where it feels like it should sit. But anyway, Gone in 60
It's the Bruckheimer factor.
Yeah, exactly. So, Gone in 60 Seconds. If you haven't watched it for a good 20-odd years, you need to kind of sit down on Wednesday and give it your full attention. So that is on Sony Movies, 9 p.m. as well. Let's move on to Thursday. Bad Samaritan on the Horror Channel at 9 p.m. Favourite of yours, Van?
To be honest with you, this is more worth it for the sort of the notability of it. It's a very weird film. This came out of nowhere about 3 years ago, just after the release of Geostorm, which itself had been delayed for about 2 years. Now, Geostorm was originally the directorial debut of Dean Devlin, one half of the Independence Day production duo who gave us, Stargate, Godzilla, things like that. He was meant to make his debut with Geostorm. That got faffed around the release schedule because of reshoots and things like that. And this then became his directorial debut. And it's very, very weird because you wouldn't think in any way he was involved with this. It's kind of a poor man's Don't Breathe. So you've got a car valet played by Robert Sheehan, who also stars in Geostorm, who, is part of this scam whereby, they work the car valet at a restaurant, they take the cars, they read the registration, they go to the person's house while they're having dinner and they rob them. And one night, the person they choose as their mark, unbeknownst to them, happens to be a psychopath, played by David Tennant with the worst American accent you've ever heard.
Welcome to Nino's, sir.
That's paddle shift, so don't go breaking the ears off thinking it's your granny's Vauxhall. Anyone smokes anything near my car, we'll have a problem. Try not to sweat. You smell like a drum circle. For God's sake, don't park under any freaking trees, huh?
That's a beautiful car, sir.
Yeah? Don't touch it.
I don't know if it's that bad an accent. It sounds a bit like Matthew Perry.
He's pretty terrible. And like I say, it is a poor man's Don't Breathe, but as a schlocky sort of, 90-minute, killer thriller goes, it's fine, I guess. Nothing to write home about, but it's a perfectly enjoyable waste of a Thursday evening. You know.
I saw that heard that he struggled with the word Vauxhall in American.
Could you imagine trying to say Vauxhall in an American accent? I know I couldn't.
Vauxhall. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Vauxhall?
Maybe he's doing better. He's doing it better than any of us. Like you say, like a schlocky kind of horror, fun for a Thursday night, throwaway movie. Not a bad thing, huh?
Not at all, but you know what's a very, very good thing, and I'm very, very happy we get to end the week with this. One of my favourite comedies. I make no apologies. Yes, I like a bit of low-hanging fruit occasionally. I like a bit of baseline, broad, crass, mainstream comedy. This was my birthday movie in 2012. I was overjoyed by it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think the sequel's decent, but not a patch on the first, and it is, of course, Seth MacFarlane's directorial debut, starring Mark Wahlberg and MacFarlane himself in voice form. It is none other than Ted.
How's work?
Sucks.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, not bad, actually. I met a girl. She's a cashier.
No way, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we should double date or something. You, me, and Laurie, and what's her name?
White trash name, guess.
Mandy.
Nope.
Marilyn.
Nope.
Brittany.
Nope.
Tiffany.
Nope.
Candace.
Nope.
Don't me on this.
Do you see me with you?
All right, speed round.
Serious.
I'm going to rattle off some names, and when I hit it, buzz it, okay?
I will tell you.
You got me?
Yeah.
All right, Brandy, Heather, Channing, Brianna, Amber, Sabrina, Melody, Dakota, Sierra, Bambi, Crystal, Samantha, Autumn, Ruby, Taylor, Tara, Tammy, Lauren, Charlene, Chantel, Courtney, Misty, Jenny, Krista, Mindy, Noelle, Shelby, Trina, Reba, Cassandra, Nikki, Kelsey, Shauna, Jolene, Erlene, Claudine, Savannah, Casey, Dolly, Kendra, Kylie, Chloe, Devin, Emma, Lou, Becky?
Nope.
Wait, was it any one of those names with a Lynn after it?
Yes.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Brandy Lynn, Heather Lynn,
Tammy Lynn.
Give Mark Wahlberg an Oscar for that list. I mean, that is amazing.
He remembered it. Apparently, he remembered that he came up with that list off the top of his head. I remember reading somewhere.
Shut up! That is insane. That's amazing. I like my low-hanging fruit as well. I love this movie. It is so trashy and bad and brilliant at the same time. Now, I've got two questions about this. Is it Ted 1 or Ted 2 that has the Flash Gordon cameo? And
Flash is in both movies. The big stuff with Flash is in the first one, but Sam Jones does also appear in the second.
Do you know what? For me, I love Flash Gordon, and I like having this come back. I was like, they've got everything from every nostalgic comedic point in on this movie. It's fantastic.
What was your second question? Go on.
My second question was: is this the movie that kind of relaunched Mark Wahlberg again? Because I for a more mainstream audience. Because I know around this time there was Ted, there was Pain and Gain as well, another fantastic movie that he starred in. And putting him in the kind of forefront of a lot of people's minds, I feel like Ted kind of did that again, but I could be wrong on that.
I think more than anything, this was the film that I think repackaged Mark Wahlberg as a suitable comedic presence as well, because he had descended into sort of that halfway between drama and action kind of a category. He'd sort of fallen into that well. And also, he was known for his David O. Russell films, and he was coming out with things like Lone Survivor and things like. He would go on to a relationship with Peter Berg that would give us things like Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day, but this at the beginning of that solidified Wahlberg as a comedic presence. This would then give rise to things like Daddy's Home as well, and Instant Family. I think it's a really, really good time. I think it's a very underrated film.
Do you know what? This film is worth a rewatch. In fact, I'm putting that's my Friday night sorted, 9 o'clock, ITV2. What a way to end the week. It's fantastic. It's brilliant to see that. That's got me really energized because I just remember how funny that movie is. So listen, guys, you've got your movies on TV all sorted from Saturday all the way through to the following Friday. As ever, we have promised you a great selection of movies, and I have to tip my hat to Van for pulling those ones together this week because they are absolutely fantastic. So, guys, stick with us. Coming up next, we've got DVDs, Blu-rays, and also all of your streaming options.
And we're back for one last ride on Offscreen, and where better to take you than, well, back to the couch. Largely through a lack of options, admittedly, but you know what? We have got some DVDs, we have got some Blu-rays, and there's a boatload of streaming platforms out there to sift through as well. So should we start on DVD and Blu-ray, Miss Perfect? We've got some new offerings coming this coming Monday, 20th of July. One that we talked about quite recently, I think, was The Assistant. The one that I think we both agreed was very Steven Soderbergh, I think we said at the time.
Yeah, but not quite up there as a Soderbergh. He's kind of got all the mechanics of it, but it doesn't sort of tell you or give you anything. You kind of just watch, which is kind of frustrating. So The Assistant is the story of a young intern into a movie company. There's something slightly Weinstein-esque about, like, you know, a young intern, maybe like...
Yes, quite.
Yeah, moving into somewhere like Miramax. The boss you don't really ever see. He's loud, he's abusive, he's very difficult to work for, but actually she's trying to find her way, and I think the idea of being part of a film company is not as glamorous as it seems, and that's the premise of this movie, and it takes place over a 24-hour period as well. To be honest, my take on this was that I get frustrated when not a lot of stuff happens in a movie.
Yeah, another feeling.
Because it did feel like I was watching it for 24 hours. That's how.
I will say this, though, it does star Matthew McFadden in a supporting role. I know you're a fan of Succession at the moment,
yes.
So he's obviously a name that'd be quite known around your house.
Yeah, absolutely, and I prefer him much more in Succession, but he's got a nice little cameo here as kind of not a career guidance or a counsellor kind of role, but he's sort of in HR, but actually doesn't really help very much either. But brilliant actor.
Well, I think the key elements to this film are largely the central performance from Julia Garner, who I think is better than the material she's got to work with. But also, it's directorially, it's quite interesting to look at. It is very rooted in Soderberghian sensibilities, and I think because of that style, because of that almost girlfriend experience, kind of like tone, that stark Soderberghian tone, that does prove impressive. And this is written and directed by Kitty Green, who directed, I think it was Casting Jean Bonnet a few years ago. So you can check that out. It's on DVD from Monday. But you know what is on DVD, and I've been really looking forward to talking about this with you, Becks.
Yeah.
There is a film coming out on DVD on Monday, and Blu-ray, obviously. We didn't get to talk about this because it didn't get a theatrical release. I think it did get a limited VOD release, very quiet VOD release. It's called The Fanatic. It stars John Travolta. It stars Devon Sawa. It is written by, produced by, and directed by, and I swear to God I'm not making this up, Fred Durst. And
I have seen all the 1-star reviews for this.
Oh, this is so much. It's so much fun. Right, so this movie stars John Travolta as, you know, those guys who hang out outside the Chinese theatre in LA, the ones in costume.
Yep.
Yeah, he's one of the ones who's dressed as an English Bobby, which means you do get to see John Travolta putting on the worst Mockney accent you've ever heard. Oi, oi, governor! And he is also an obsessive fan of a movie star played by Devon Sawa, and he becomes his stalker. This obviously then escalating increasingly until it reaches murderous degrees. There's a brilliant moment in this movie in which Devon Sawa is driving along with his son, and a Limp Bizkit song comes on the radio, and the movie stops dead so that Devon Sawa can talk about how, oh wow, I've forgotten how much I love this song. Wow, these guys were amazing back in the day. And you're thinking, wow, that is actually not even the most self-exploitative Fred Durst has ever been. So interesting. This is also a movie, and I swear to God this is true, that opens John Travolta's entire dialogue with the line, "I have to poo." So, I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the movie. John Travolta has summed it up for us there with his very, very first line. It's awful, but you got to see it. It's actually awful fun. So,
I was going to ask the question, is it so bad that it's good?
Basically, yes. That's how you got to go with it. But let's move over to streaming then, and one that's not awful in any way, but also very, very good. Black Klansman is reaching Netflix next Friday, July the 24th, and we were both huge fans of this. We covered this on Oscar night together as well.
Yeah, I love this film. Again, it's our man Adam Driver, doing a fantastic role in here. Also, it's not Denzel's son that's in this. It's Donald Glover, isn't it?
It is. It's John David Washington in this. John David Washington, son of Denzel. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a little snippet because he's even got his dad's voice.
Well, I'm not risking my life to prevent some rednecks from lighting a couple sticks on fire.
This is the job. What's your problem?
That's my problem. For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job. It's not personal, nor should it be.
Why haven't you bought into this?
Why should I?
Because you're Jewish, brother. The so-called chosen people. You've been passing for a WASP. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, cherry pie hot dog white boy. That's what some light-skinned black folks do. They pass for white. Doesn't that hatred you've been hearing the Klan say, doesn't that piss you off?
Of course it does.
Then why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game, brother?
Rookie, that's my business.
to our business.
So in a nutshell, this movie is about a black man who works for the FBI or the police. And
it's the Colorado Springs Police Department, I think.
Yeah, Colorado Springs Police Department. And he infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan. So that concept in itself is absolutely bizarre. But it's done so cleverly, obviously with the help of Adam Driver in this. But do you know what? For me, I always remember at the end of this movie, they put up some real footage. And that hits you like a ton of bricks when you watch that at the end. So I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I would just say be prepared on that. This is a very powerful yet incredibly funny movie, and it's
very
worth
much
your
so.
time. Yeah, it's definitely worth your time. I can't believe, it's on Netflix. It's going to be, this is the movie that you'll want to go and watch and learn something from.
Well, this is the interesting thing, obviously, because Netflix obviously recently launched *To Five Bloods*, which was Spike Lee's follow-up, really, to this. This was his follow-up project. So having *BlacKkKlansman* and *To Five Bloods* on there, which both have that same kind of ending, incidentally. Very, very interesting double bill, and even with the humour and things like that, I would recommend doing them as a double bill. But I think do them the other way around, because I think *BlacKkKlansman* is a little lighter and frothier and more fun than *To Five Bloods*, but both are absolutely excellent. Let's move over to Amazon Prime then. Same day, I mean, all of our films on streaming this week all come out on July the 24th, next Friday. So let's talk then. How to Build a Girl is making its making its premiere anywhere, really. This is going to appear on Amazon Prime. This is based on Caitlin Moran's best-selling novel, which is in and of itself kind of semi-autobiographical. This stars Beanie Feldstein, who I'm a big fan of. You know, going back to Booksmart.
Yes, yeah, she's one of my favourites as well. So she is. Who's her brother? It's
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, yes. And you never knew this because they're not sharing the same stage surname on this. So
they are sharing the same face, though, it does seem.
Well, now, but when you realise that, you realise they're sharing the same face, but it doesn't quite. It's not obvious at the beginning, but she is such a force to be reckoned with. She's so smart talking. She's funny. She obviously, you can tell once you get to know her, the Hill family, shall we say, or the Felston family, they are brilliantly in terms of their delivery and their acting credibilities and stuff as well. So listen, she's brilliant in this. How to Build a Girl. Caitlin Moran, I quite like her writing as well, so I'd be interested to see how this plays out on Amazon Prime as well as a movie. Interesting, yeah.
Interesting as well. And you've also got Paddy Considine on there as well, which automatically sells the movie to me, if I'm really honest. Yeah. So definitely worth checking out. And last but certainly by no means least, one that we have talked about in different forms quite a bit over recent months, because it was one of the I think it was one of the last films out before lockdown kicked in, and it got kind of shuffled around because of that. I think it made its debut on VOD and has now gone to streaming. This is, of course, Radioactive, starring Rosamund Pike as Marie Curie, and of course is the story of Marie Curie's work in the medical profession, how her science was regarded as the treatment of soldiers, how it affected her relationship with men, how the world and the press and the media perceived her. Real powerhouse performance from Rosamund Pike.
You've been frowning at that all week.
I'm observing.
What you looking for?
I find it easier to observe when I'm not talking. I measure uranium and I discover less radiations than I do in its ore.
The ore is more powerful than the element.
Exactly. And I can't
There must
quite
be some
work.
anomaly in the results.
I've run the same test 6 times. I get identical results. My instinct is that there is another element that's skewing the results.
You think you found an undiscovered element?
If you're laughing at me, then I'm...
No, I'm not laughing at you. That's exciting.
Do you know what? This is a film that I think you might listen to that clip and kind of go, and probably not for me. It's interesting. I didn't really know the story of Marie Curie, like, in depth, and this gives you that real understanding of it. The acting's fine, it's okay, it's nothing groundbreaking in terms of its form or its performances, but it is worth a watch at the same time.
Oh, definitely so. It's a very stylish film as well. And also, I'm a big fan of period piece science. Like, you showed me a movie about Tesla or something like that. I mean, the movie Ethan Hawke's playing Tesla soon, because, you know, we've not seen enough of that guy depicted in film in recent years. Although, if we're being really honest, you can't top David Bowie, can you?
No, of course not. Of course not. But you know what? Like I say, like, if you're up for learning something, Rosamund Pike, as always, is brilliant in her movies. And she's perfect casting for this. And we see it kind of all the way through. It's quite a linear directional story, I suppose. You don't really see anything that sort of wows you, but what it does do is keep you on a steady track towards kind of understanding one of our world's greatest scientists and greatest discoveries as well. So that is Radioactive. That's on Amazon Prime from Friday. That sort of tops off our streaming list for today. And you know what, guys? If whether or not you're sat on the couch, you're thinking, I want to buy something and watch it on digital, you've got two great opportunities there with Clemency and Come As You Are. You've got loads of movies on TV for you. And of course, you've got some great DVD, Blu-ray and streaming offerings as well. Our recommendation for the streaming side would definitely be Black Klansman, though. You want to check that out. And if you want to see something that's so bad that it's good, of course, there's always The Fanatic as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that wraps us up for another week here on Offscreen. We'll be back next week with more movies for you on your 7-day guide to everything movies on the couch. So for now, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.